So guest posting has been around for a long time, and there's been a lot of people that have benefited from participating in it. And I'm not here to say that guest posting itself is a waste of time. But as someone who has made a career out of managing and working on dozens of websites, as well as taking guest posting offers on my own, I'm going to highlight some reasons why I feel like a lot of the pitches that you're going to get if you run a website are probably a waste of your time. So most of these begin with the premise of what seems like a fair exchange. They'll basically say, hey, look, I'll write a piece of content that is relevant to your website and you can post it on there. I won't charge you anything. And all I want in return is an author bio or something with a link to my website in it. It seems like a pretty good quid pro quo. And if you're kind of a new blog who's thirsty for content, this is especially alluring. But there are some things to watch out for. First, I'd say you really have to make sure that what they're going to write about is topically relevant to your site. I've gotten a lot of these kinds of offers over the years where it's tangential at best, how it relates to the scope of the site. And if it goes too off topic, then from an SEO standpoint, that's not useful at all and could be confusing to your readers. But moreover, the bigger problem that I see play out is the type of content that they actually offer. Most of what I have been pitched over the years, I would say 90% of it, vast majority, is superficial, like really superficial. And I get it. From their standpoint, they're probably looking at it like, I'm taking the time to write a piece of content and then I'm giving it away for nothing. So how much time am I really going to put into that? I understand that. But I think they need to look at it like, but you're the one prepositioning someone for a supposedly mutually beneficial situation, and you're selling them on the takeaway value for themselves. Well, a superficial piece of content that offers nothing, that hasn't been done hundreds of other times already on the internet, is of no value. And the stricter and more tight of filters that Google puts on content over the years where it's determining what it wants to rank, now more than ever, superficial stuff just doesn't move the needle at all. And so really it's all gain on their part because they're getting a backlink from you, which is always valuable to them, especially if your site is relevant to what they're trying to rank for, and you're not really getting anything much in return. A simple example is I had a home remodel and construction client, and we were pitched at one point, this guy wanting to talk about remodels that you can do to build value in the home for if you're going to sell it or flip the property at something. And so I thought, all right, that's more or less related to our site. And I basically told the person, all right, come up with a draft if you got one, like I'll look at it and we can go from there. And what they sent over to me, one of the tips was redoing your countertops because countertops look nice and they add value to the home. That was basically, no joke, like the extent of that section. It was a subheading making that point and like a paragraph, and that was it. And I'm reading it thinking, this is useless. This is completely wasting a reader's time because, let's be serious, if you're actually considering a kitchen remodel, it's because you already know new cabinets are going to look nice and you probably assume this is going to add value to your house. If it doesn't dig into something better than that, why does it increase value to your house? Do you have numbers? Do you have like a stat that you could say, in fact, people who upgrade their cabinets, especially if they go with these premium materials, are able to increase their home value by 8% or whatever it is. Like if you had tangible numbers, that would mean something, especially if you could get specific and give advice that only someone who does remodeling for a living would be able to know. Most people don't bother to use this sort of padding in their flooring, and it controls whether things shake when you walk angrily across the room or, something that demonstrates real expertise. And I politely wrote back to one of these people that were offering that and basically told them that, like, I'm sorry, but this is just really superficial and it doesn't add any value to our site. And he wrote back to me in this really like nasty tone and was like, don't worry about it. I got somebody else to take the post. And it was like written in this snarky tone that suggested, I don't have to listen to your crap because I got somebody else to take this post. So it proves that the post is valuable. And I didn't want to reply and be a jerk back and basically say what was in my head, which is, Just because you got some sucker who doesn't know what I know to take it doesn't make me wrong. It just makes them wasting their time. That's a little harsh, I know, but it's reality. If you're going to blog this day and age, especially for SEO, you have to really, truly bring something to the table. Just lukewarm stuff that's loaded with keywords doesn't work. And I've seen that in action straight up. On that same home remodeling client, I went through a stretch of 6 months where I did take quite a few offers of people doing guest posts, even where the content was a little superficial. I took it anyway. And I did it as an experiment. This is a client I had had for over 5 years at that point. So I'm like, their rankings are strong enough. I can take some gambles. I'm curious on some things. Now, I made sure that the content that was being posted to the site from the guest posters was different than the content I was writing for the site that month. That way it wouldn't muddy the waters on, whose stuff helped what. And I wanted to see, I know the keywords I'm focusing on with my content, so I can see if that ends up being a win. Does your article end up moving the needle for anything related to what that article is about? Not only did it not move the needle, but a month or two later, our rankings actually took a dip. Now in SEO, it's tenuous at best to make big assumptions like, oh, well, I did one thing and my rankings went down, so it must be that. It could have been a variety of things. So I can't definitively say that it was posting that content that made the rankings go down. But what I can say is I did a thing with those posts after that definitively made the rankings go up. And I know it was because of that, because that was the majority of what I did that month. So in a couple cases, I just deleted the worst of the guest material that I had published. I deleted it and set up redirects so that it wouldn't be a 404 and handled it. And in a couple other cases, I looked at it and said, while this piece of content is really superficial, it has a good premise to it. And if it were fleshed out more intelligently, it could actually be a good post. And so I went and edited those posts and made them the post they should have been and then resubmitted them. And in few weeks after that, the rankings that had sagged had started to come back up and related to keywords that article, those two articles were about. It reaffirmed for me something I already knew to be true in SEO, which is any page you write, Google looks at that page and decides should this page rank for things, but it also contributes to if you want to think of it as an overall average for your site, where Google says, big picture, I've looked at all of the pages and posts on your site, and if I had to make a general assertion, big picture, does this site publish strong content or not? If you think of it like an average, like your test scores or anything else, every time you publish a really weak piece of content that when Google looks at it, it's like, no, this is junk. It brings your overall average for the site down. And that can actually influence the rankings for other posts that even are good. And if you do that too many times and Google starts to become unsure about whether you're really an authority, whether you really put out good material, it can actually make building rankings slower even when you publish other content that is good. I've just seen that in action on sites where I've muddied the waters with guest content and sites where I don't. The speed at which certain things move, it matters. And so the advice that I would give anybody is, it's not to say that there's no such thing as good guest content or that nobody that could ever preposition you for this ever is like a good writer who's going to really publish a piece. But I think what you'd be looking for to try to ascertain that is it clear from their email they're sending you that they're shotgunning this to 50 different sites and you just got a stock message? Or are there things that are clear that they're like, hey, I follow you specifically. I really like this stuff that you're doing. I really would love to be featured on your site because I respect your site. Here's an idea I could contribute that I think is legitimately something I would want my name associated with in a qualitative way and that is worthy of you featuring me on the site. If that comes across the right way, there's a chance that this person is really going to write a home run for your site. But if they're trying to build themselves, but too often what it is somebody basically saying, I build backlinks for my clients, and so this is just my tactic to get links on other people's sites so I can go back to my clients and say, I got you links. And if that's all they're trying to do, it's going to be a very half-hearted effort on the copy that they're handing over to you because it's just a delivery method. I got to give you some quick article I spun out, and I'm doing this on dozens of people per week just to get some links. And when that is the goal, you're a lot less likely to come upon a piece of writing that like matters, that's really going to move the needle for your site. And I would say we're all, as business owners, busy people. And the time that it takes you to go back and forth a couple of times to iron out the details and agree on topics and then review what they sent over and then copy paste it into your site and get it published and submitted and work with images and vet the images they're sending you to make sure that they're not plagiarism or not royalty free and going to get you in trouble for posting it. By the time you've done all that for something that's probably not going to help you, you could have done almost literally anything else for your business and would have generated more value. And so just in general, I really would hazard small business website owners away from being tempted with a lot of these, because my experience has been the majority of the time, it's not worth your time. There's probably, like, if I had to make up numbers, like 10% of guest posters out there that I've encountered that take pride in their writing and are going to do right by you. And the other 90%, like I said, are just, I'm doing this to get backlinks. And as a last thought, I would even challenge their assertion. Like I said earlier, I'm sure they're looking at it like, well, I'm writing this content for free, so how much time should I put into it? I would look at it saying, look, if you're going to buy links, they're often between $200 and $700 or more dollars a link for a good link. If you actually have faith in this website that you're asking to publish a piece of guest content on, if you had to buy this link for $300 or $400, turn around and say to yourself, if you were going to write an article for $300 or $400, wouldn't it be a better article than what you're coming up with here? So you're not really doing it for free because you're getting a really valuable link out of it without paying for it. So it's the wrong rationality to say it's free, so I'm just going to churn it out. I could go on about this topic for a while, and I won't today. But I hope that core point that I'm making is kind of driven home at this point and is clear to you. If you have questions or want to go into the nuance of that, throw them in the comments below and I'll weigh in. But I just thought this was helpful because this has come up a couple of times, both with clients and with colleagues of mine asking me similar questions. I've got this person, that's been submitting guest content, but I'm really not happy with it. What should I do? And this is just the advice that I ended up giving all of them in those cases. So this comes from an OG blogger. I've been blogging for probably 20 years in various mediums, and I've been doing SEO professionally for about 16 years at this point. And so I've seen a lot of this. And like I've said before, I've seen where it does and mostly does not move the needle. And it's just, in those cases, not worth your time as a business owner. Don't water down your blog with something that you're not really proud of as part of your brand messaging. And most of it, you probably won't be. I'm signing off here. I'm Brian with the SE Optimist, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.